Hi everybody, today we're going to talk about the Underground Railroad. This is a phrase that is coming up in the movie that we're watching, and it's an organization that existed in the history of this country. And it can be a little bit confusing because these words and phrases have a literal meaning, they have an exact meaning, and then they also are being used in kind of a symbolic way or a figurative way. Or a fanciful way. So I want you to understand the words, and then I also want you to understand what the characters mean when they use these words. So the first one is a railroad. Now, literally, a railroad is a path of iron that is used for trains to travel. That's a real railroad. For example, there is a railroad close to Modesto, and if you live downtown, you can hear the trains pass. Underground, in this case, it means secret or invisible. So, in the movie, it doesn't mean that the railroad is going under the ground. It means that this is like a secret railroad, or it's a railroad that you can't see. So, many Americans thought that slavery was bad, and they wanted to help the escaping slaves, but it was illegal, so they took their activities underground. And you can see these two characters in the movie were sort of looking at each other and communicating without talking because their activities were secret. Their activities were underground. So the Underground Railroad is a secret network before the U.S. Civil War, which helped escaping slaves travel from the South to the North. And the people in the Underground Railroad helped slaves with food, clothes, money, identity papers, and directions as they were traveling. So in this map, you can see some red lines that mostly go from the south to the north. And these paths that people traveled on these lines were called a railroad. They weren't a real railroad, but they were sort of paths or routes that the people would travel. Okay, so in this railroad, we have this thing called passengers. And a passenger is a person who is traveling on a bus, a boat, a train, etc. I think this woman is a passenger on this train. She is carrying a suitcase. She is wearing some clothes that look like travel clothes. I think she's a passenger. On the Underground Railroad, a passenger was someone who is trying to escape. The next word is conductor. A conductor is the driver, but it's the driver of a train, not a driver of a car. That's the conductor. And in the U.S., most of our train conductors are very old. That's a true statement. Most young people are not interested in working on the railroad. Now, in the Underground Railroad, a conductor isn't a driver. Is sort of a person who is leading a group. The next word is station. And this is a place where the train stops. Usually this place has benches, bathrooms, and sometimes some small shops or restaurants. That's a real station with a real train. For example, at the train station, I got off the train and I transferred to a bus. So in the Underground Railroad, a station is something different. Usually a station was somebody's house, and so the slaves would go and they would have a connection, they would have a name, and they would go to a certain house. That person would let them go inside and maybe sleep and give them some fresh food or things like that. So it was like a secret station. The next word, a station master. When we're talking about a train, this is a manager of a train station. For example, the station master works with the ticket sellers, the shop owners, and the passengers in the station. In the Underground Railroad, a station master is like the owner of one of these houses that takes the slaves as guests secretly. And this is an interesting one. The word investor means a person who gives money to a company to help them start or grow their business. In this picture, these investors were very impressed with the presentation, and they decided to invest $50,000. So investors are usually like rich people who give lots of money to something, and then they help make the decisions and things like that. In the case of the Underground Railroad, an investor was a person who would donate money to help the efforts of giving clothes or food or tickets or whatever was needed. So I just want to do a little practice. I would like you to pause the video, take a piece of paper, and write these numbers, and try to remember the names from this presentation. Do you remember the names of these people? Are you ready for the answers? Number 1 should be conductor. Number 2 starts with a P, passenger. Number 3 has 2 words in it. It is station master. Do you remember this one? You should have investor. And just as a quick review, do you understand these words now? You need to know their normal meaning, but also what is their special meaning in Harriet's story. So we have railroad, Underground Railroad, passenger, conductor, station, station master, and investor. So I hope that's an interesting presentation. If you watch this before you watch the video may make a little bit more sense to you. And that's all for today.